you're joining us now, we are continuing our Meet the Mayoral Candidates conversation this morning, and we're shifting gears a little bit, and we're heading a little bit back eastward from Benqueviejo, and we are joined with the People's United Party's mayoral candidate for Belmopan, Sharon Palacio. Good morning.
Pleasant good morning.
All right, great. Thank you so much for joining us for this morning's conversation. Now, we like to start this segment on a little bit of a personal note. Now, we know people in Belmopan know you, but for the rest of our viewers, give us a little bit of an introduction to who Sharon Palacio is.
Thank you. Sharon Palacio is a pioneer in Belmopan. I came to Belmopan at the age of 13 when my adventurous mother decided that she no longer wanted to raise us in Punta Gorda, and she wanted us to come to Belmopan. So I came here at the age of 13. I'm now 50. I recently turned 56. And along with that, I can share that I hold a master's degree in psychology. I graduated from the Universidad Central de las Villas. I've been working at the University of Belize for the past 18 years. Prior to that, when I returned home from Cuba, I started working at the Ministry of Human Development, where I held several positions. The first one I held was consultant to the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, whereby I assisted in working along with persons who were displaced from El Salvador, Guatemala. It was very interesting. So I stayed with and following that, I moved on to become the counselor of the newly formed Family Services Department at that time. And along with that came the gang truce. And somehow they thought that I was fit for that position. So I was blessed to work with that gang truce, and I learned a lot.
Yeah.
Following the gang truce, I was elevated to becoming the coordinator on the rights of the child. And there's where I met young Marlene, if she can recall.
That's right. Very, very young Marlene.
Very young Marlene. And one of my biggest jobs at the Family Services Department was to teach the entire country about the Convention on the Rights of the Child, assist in the law reform as well. And the biggest job, I cannot remember the name of that Congress we held, Marlene. Can you give me a little hand when it comes to that, the specific name? Because I remember you became the speaker.
Yeah.
Do you remember the name?
Yeah, it was the CARICOM meeting on the Convention on the Rights of a Child. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And that was a big job by itself, very interesting. And I look back at the persons who were involved at that conference. I can recall Marlene was the lead, and several others, and all these young people to date, they hold very meaningful positions. Yeah. After the Family on the Rights of the Child, I went on to become the personnel manager at the Citrus Company of Belize. Mm-hmm. At that time, they were amalgamating all the different citrus, the entire citrus industries. So I worked under Del Oro, and my job was to bring that merge together, working on the different job descriptions. And that was a mighty position by itself. Again, when I look back, it really helped me because I learned so much from the then CEO, Mr. Randy Fleming. Yeah. After my 7 years at the Citrus Company, I came back home to Belmopan, and I applied for this job at the University of Belize, and the position that was available was Director of Development. Now, I took a bold step to apply, despite the fact that they were asking for a master's degree in business. But, sorry, but I know and I felt that I came from a business background because my mom had me selling on the streets of Punta Gorda from I was 9. So that really helped. And coming to Belmopan, we still had to be selling. So that helped me.
Yeah.
And I was able to convince the panel that I could have delivered the $250,000 figure that had to do with the job. And I did. And after I did that, a vacancy came up. I did that for a year. And then this vacancy came up, the position that I really wanted, which was Director of Student Services. And I worked there at the Office of Student Affairs for 18 solid years.
Yeah.
During those 18 years, I became politically involved with Mayor Chanona in 2003 to 2006. So that gives you a little glimpse of where the politics came in, and we'll be able to discuss that more.
And that's,
back to you.
And that's actually what I wanted to hear. You know, your history in the community work that you've done, it's been around the country. But taking the leap into politics, and especially running as the mayoral candidate, it means that, you know, several things. One, that there were that people had confidence that you were the best leader for the job, but secondly, that you had a direction as to where you wanted to take it. What are some of the things that for you has put you in this position where you are ready to run as the mayoral candidate?
Well, there's where I go to 2003 when Mayor Anthony Chanona, he heard me speaking at the auditorium at the university. And I can never forget, he came right after my presentation and he said, "Sharon, have you ever considered politics?" I told him, "Oh, no, that's not my cup of tea." And when I got home, I shared with my mother. So I gave my mother a lot of credit. And I told my mom what transpired at the university. And she said, "Sharon, go for it." So I said, no, I won't go, Mommy, because you have to beg people for votes. And I don't think I can do that. And at that time, between herself and Mayor Anthony Chanona, they decided that my mom was going to campaign for me, along with my daughter. And my strength was at the mic whenever we had these big public meetings. Fortunately, we didn't have COVID at that time. So we had several public meetings. And there's where I met the community as such. Yeah. So I was at the City Council 2003, 2006. I was the counselor in charge of tourism, crime prevention, cultural awareness, and I know it was 4 and some other posts. And I can recall getting to work immediately. Although having my job at UB made it even easier. I remember immediately getting so many young people certified as tour guides. I worked with the tourism board at the time. And along with that, I can recall Mayor Chanona. One thing I learned from him, and I'll give him big credit. He said, okay, as councillors, as this Belmopan City Council, we developed a 25 years plan for Belmopan. And one of the main things that I give him credit for, he insisted that we had to leave money behind for whichever council coming behind, whether it was going to be us or somebody else. Yeah. And we managed to leave behind $5 million. And his plan for the 25 years would have been every 3 years, it's another 5 million. So at this time, we would be looking at a 25 million. But along with that, I became campaign manager like 2 times. And the recent one, which really made me realize that politics is for me. Our now Honorable Oscar Mira, I became his deputy campaign manager and also the zone leader for Belmopan Central. And
Sharon,
Everything was, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a critical point to jump off on. So, having campaigned with the now representative Mira, you have been on the ground for a while. So, tell us about how you make that shift from campaigning from what he could deliver to now talking about what you and your slate hope to deliver in Belmopan.
Excellent. That shift. First of all, I want to say something. Becoming the mayor has been, I would say, something behind my innermost psyche. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to the actual selling myself, the campaigning for Sharon Palacio, I didn't see that as something that I can handle. I must be quite honest. Mm-hmm. And then I thought about all the negativity that comes with it, because there's where you hear all kinds of things that maybe you never heard of. Mm-hmm. But I can recall in the Oscar Mira campaigns, I really admire young Oscar Mira. You can see his diligence, and we became closer and closer on the campaign trail. And I realized when after reading his manifesto and the entire Plan Belize, I saw a lot of things, a lot of points in the Oscar Mira's campaign that I thought that I would be able to assist him at the city council level to bring Belmopan to achieve its true purpose. Mm-hmm. There's so much that Belmopan needs, and I believe that myself, working along with Honorable Oscar Mira, and of course our government as such, that there are several things that we would be able to bring back to Belmopan. Yeah. If you allow me.
Well, I'd love to hear a bit more in detail about some of these things.
Yes, that's exactly what I want to get to. Yeah. During the Oscar Mira campaigns, I quickly found out, and everybody knows this, that it was time for a change. From the city council perspective, 15 years of one regime. And somehow there was a lot of things that our Belmopan people were crying over, things that they want to see happen. And some of the points that they brought out as their number one, you would hear all the time: no access to land. Our young people are deprived. Then along with that, a lot of Belmopan had a lot of green spaces. Then you would hear that all these green spaces are being sold. Like the boulevard near the U.S. Embassy, sold. Our buffers, sold. Entire J&W subdivision, sold. Recently, the Harrietopsy Park. I cannot confirm that all these things are true, but somehow the public cry, and you have a saying that the voice of the public is for real. Mm-hmm. So the leasing of the Harrietopsy Park, and according to what we found out, that it has been leased for 100 years. The San Martin Fire Station land that I know of, sold. The Mayoral community washroom, now that made me cry. I had no idea that it was sold. And that's a project that we worked diligently on. And again, we heard that was sold. Yeah. No, and the Market Square public bathroom, well, that one knocked me off my feet. Sold. The land for future bus terminal, future hospital, sold. And I can go on and on. This program wouldn't be enough to share what has happened. All these.
Sorry, I hate to interject. It's just, I think this is an opportunity for us to be able to hear more from your plans. And while I know there are definitely criticisms you can make about the administration, let's hear what your vision is if you were elected, what you hope to be, what you promise to deliver on if you're elected come March 3rd.
Okay.
Yeah.
First of all, looking at all what has been happening,
Yeah.
we came up, myself and my team, and especially after walking the streets, whereby we found out that people, they've lost trust. They've lost that connect.
Yeah.
So we came up with our campaign slogan as a change from the heart.
Mm-hmm.
Because Marlene, pessimism abound.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking at changing the narrative and bringing optimism.
Yeah.
And there's where we are looking at securing land for our first-time owners.
Mm-hmm.
I am blessed to be on the board for the Reconstruction Development Corporation,
Yeah.
whereby I can already share with the wider public that we've secured 50 acres of land, and we're already looking at a housing project to be able to allow first-time owners, and looking at a lot of these single mothers in motherhood who would be able to benefit from that. Last night, I was overjoyed when the Prime Minister campaigned with us. He has promised 1,000% support, and already looking at some acres of land behind the Intelco area, whereby we want to give to first-time owners. The last time land was giving out, the way we're looking at it, was in 2006, just before we exited office. So that is number one.
Yeah.
Number two, employment. We know that the entire country, several people, they've lost their jobs. We have our young people with their bachelor degree, a lot of them working at these call centers. I am privileged to have been awarded a title by the name of Champion of the Americas by the Canadian Bureau of Education. Mm-hmm. And that will allow me, along with my competent counselors, to be able to export human resources from Belize to the first world, which would be Canada, and find meaningful employment. I am looking forward to be able to send as many as 100 at a time, whereby they can go for 6 months, a year, and increase that capital. And we have to be wise, because that's the reason why we have first world, where third world can benefit. I lived in Cuba for many years, and I know that I lived in a period they call periodo especial, and we survived. We did well.
Yeah.
Because when you bring people together meaningfully, tell them the truth, what is happening. Because I will not fool anybody to tell them, hey, at City Hall, I'm going to find that 25 million that we projected back then from 2006. If I do that, I'll be fooling myself.
Well,
so we need to be telling people the truth and what is happening.
And I don't want us to lose all the time, and we don't get in some of these issues, because we can't skip over the finance issue. This is not something that is unique to any individual council. And we hear what central government is facing as well. And, you know, you've been on the campaign. Individual families are struggling as well. So what are your plans to be able to address or to raise the capital needed to fulfill the work that you want to do in Belmopan? There's the municipal bond that also has to be repaid within Belmopan as well. So you have the additional responsibility there if you're elected.
Yeah, the financing is something that we've already discussed. And what brings to mind is when the Chamber of Commerce, I'm comparing what we're about to face with what the Chamber of Commerce faced some years back then under Alvin Henderson, whereby the first thing he did, he found nothing, and he reached out to the business community. He reached out to them, and as us, the incoming city council, because we're going to win, we will, and we've already started this journey, whereby we're looking at our private partnerships with our business community to be able to explore opportunities. And for you to know, Marlene, we're using what you call the consultative approach. We will have everybody involved. And people in Belmopan, they tell us that they know it's not going to be easy. The one thing that they're asking for is for us not to close our doors, to make sure that we have the open door policy, and that comes with us anyhow. So we will not imagine things. The first thing we're asking for at this time, even before our elections, is an audit for us to get the facts, for us to know what's happening. Yeah. And we're promised that that will be done. Upon arrival there, we will open the books to the public. There's a lot of things that is missing, because when it comes to that people connect, it's not there. And when you have people involved, there are things that you can do. For example, we know that City Council works off taxes, licenses, and those type of things. We know for a fact that we have a lot of delinquents. We will be able to generate that trust, that confidence. If you come with us and you walk around Belmopan, people are not complaining. People are complaining, yes, but the one thing they complain about is that disconnect. Yeah. And that is what we, under my leadership, will restore in Belmopan. And then we'll take one day at a time. Because we know the entire world is aching.
Yeah, I want to get in this question before we run out of time, Sharon. The two major parties have put forward female mayoral candidates for Belmopan City Council. There are independent candidates running as well, but if you look at the two major parties, it will seem that Belmopan will get its first female mayor. What are your thoughts on this? Having your main competitor in this race being another woman?
Well, I think that the time has come. It's obvious, because from the two sides, we have females, and my opponent is my friend. We go way, way back. And I think that it's going to be history in Belmopan, historic. Yeah. She has served on her city council as well, myself as well. And I come from a family of boys. I'm from the world of men. So a lot of I just feel that it is a wonderful time. Yeah. And whichever side it goes, I'll be very, very happy. Okay. Because as you know, Marlene, we're living in a patriarchal society. Yeah. And for me, I was not endorsed. I went to what you call a convention. Mm-hmm. And my fellow opponents were 5 men. So for me, just the fact that I went to a convention, and I won't lie, I was scared of a convention. Yeah. Because any number can play. But I came out victorious. I'm very thankful to all these delegates who confided in me, who voted for me. To them, I say thanks. In Spanish, I say muchas gracias. In my language, I say sereme. So it's a time that you, Marlene, I'm sure you're going to be here that night to witness whatever happens.
Yeah. And right before we close, can you also speak a little bit just about your slate and introduce the rest of our viewers to them? And then also, in our final minutes, you can also speak directly to your viewers, to your voters, as we do give each candidate who comes on that opportunity to tell them why it is they should vote for you and your team.
Oh, definitely. Thank you. I am happy to introduce my slate. I have a group of young people, and somehow all of them I know. I've worked with them in some fashion or form, or I know their parents or something like that. So first, I'm happy to introduce Darren Swayze, who is no stranger to Belmopan. He's Belmopan raised, and he has a wide experience when it comes to the tourism market, accounting, finances, and so on. I have Hope Amadi, who is originally from Africa. He came to Belize so many years ago. He became a Belizean. He has been involved in politics. He has lost many times at the polls. And he holds a bachelor degree in nursing, and he's employed at the Western Regional Hospital. I have dynamic Guadalupe Chicas, who I've known from forever. And she is a masseuse when it comes to what she does. She has been involved also in the pharmaceuticals. And I'm happy to introduce so far Darren, Hope, and Guadalupe. And I move on to Pauline Soberanis. I've met her on her TV. She works at Plus TV, so she's a media person. I know she is involved in assisting the disabled and the privileged, single mothers. She's always reaching out to those groups. And I know her, I can say that I know her as well. And I met her at Love FM some time back. Young Sonny Carl, he's a Belmopanese. He's a businessman. And again, I know him and I know his family. And then we have Nikki Augustine. She holds a master's degree. I can say that I worked with Nikki from way back then at the Ministry of Education. We did Opportunities Fair together. I'm happy to see her growth. And she currently works at Beltrade, and she'll be able to bring a lot of her skills to what we need, because she's an expert at proposal writing. So there's a lot of work cut out for us, and we have a dynamic team to do what is expected, what the Belmopan residents are expected. With that said, at this time, I want to reassure our Belmopanese that under our leadership, the new Belmopan City Council under Sharon Palacio and her dynamic team, that we will ensure equitable distribution and ownership of residential lots. That's what people are crying out for. Ensure that first-time landowners is a priority for us, and especially young families and women. Make sure that our Belizean entrepreneurs qualify for the commercial lots, for the assistance they need. Our incubation center will be there for them to review their plan when it comes to business as such, because that's one thing that the Oscar Mira camp was very determined to have in Belmopan, what we call the incubation centers, where anybody who's aspiring to be an entrepreneur will be able to visit us and get the support they need, right down to getting their company documents and everything that goes along with business. The new home building assistance program and a system in sourcing funding for their investment. I mean, funding for their homes, for what they want to build. We want to be a part of that as well, along with many other little needs that our Belmopanese they have. I want to reassure Belmopan that for the first time, or for in a long time after Mayor Chanona, they will have a charismatic mayor, a mayor that will be there for you, using the consultative approach, committed to you. So with that said, this is our commitment to our Belmopanese, and on March 3rd, vote P.U.P 7, P and her team. And I thank Channel 5 for bringing me up this morning.
And we thank you for joining us and being able to tell us a bit about your campaign and how things have been going. Please do stay safe as you enter this final week. All right.
Thank you, Marlene. Thank you, Mr. Courtney.
All right. With that, we're going to go ahead and take our final break. And when we come back, we'll have our wrap up. So stay tuned.